Hey everyone, and a massive welcome to all the grade 9 students of St. Paul American School, Clark. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for today's explainer. You know, your high school program is really all about developing critical thinking and building that global perspective, and today we're going to train exactly those muscles. I want you to think of this session as your official training ground for becoming literary detectives. We're going to look closely at how texts actually work behind the scenes, searching for clues, and uncovering the hidden layers of meaning that, honestly, most everyday readers just completely miss. So grab your notebooks and let's get ready to investigate. Here's a quick roadmap for today's explainer, just so you know exactly how we're going to build those critical thinking skills step by step. First, we'll hit our lesson objectives. Second, we're defining mood and inference. Third, we'll check out an analysis model focused on word choice. Fourth, we'll tackle a major misconception, guessing versus inferring. And finally, we'll wrap the whole thing up with a formative check and recap. Section 1. Lesson objectives, and what we will learn today. Okay, let's dive into this and look at the specific goals we're tackling.
By the time we finish this explainer, you're going to master 4 absolutely crucial things. Number 1, you'll identify mood in a text. Number 2, you'll analyze how a writer's word choice actually creates that mood. Number 3, you'll make inferences based on what you read. And number 4, you'll cite textual evidence to back up those inferences. And listen, these aren't just vocabulary words to memorize for a test. These are active, everyday tools for deep reading comprehension. Mastering these 4 skills is literally what separates a passive reader from an active, critical thinker.
Section 2. Defining mood and inference, the tools of a literary detective. Before we can analyze a text like true detectives, we really need to clearly define our terminology. Let's kick things off with mood. Basically, mood is the overall atmosphere or feeling of a piece of writing. It's that emotional landscape the author paints for you, the reader. Now, it's super important to separate mood from tone. Tone is the author's own attitude toward the subject, like whether they're being serious or maybe a little sarcastic. But mood is about how the atmosphere makes you feel. It's the vibe. A writer creates this atmosphere to make a story believable and immersive. Like if a scene is set in an old, abandoned, haunted house, the mood needs to feel tense and spooky, right? Not cheerful and bright. Next up, we have inference. Inferencing is reaching a conclusion based on clues and reasoning. Essentially, it's reading between the lines. When authors write, they almost never explicitly spell out every single detail or explain every concept outright. Instead, they leave little clues. As a reader, you make an inference by establishing meaningful connections between the literal text on the page and your own background knowledge. When you combine those two things, boom, you construct a complete mental model of the situation. You figure out what's happening even though the author never directly told you.
Section 3. Analysis model, word choice, how words build the atmosphere. Let's see how building an atmosphere works in practice.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing how different word choices can describe the exact same location but create vastly different moods. Just imagine a totally standard house in the suburbs with a yard and a tree. On side 1, let's say the author uses words like a shadow lying over the yard like a grave cloth, a withered oak tree, and a child's toy shrouded by creeping weeds. Those specific words, shrouded, withered, grave cloth, they instantly create this creepy, depressing, and honestly dangerous mood. You definitely wouldn't want to go knock on that door, right? Now look at side 2. The author describes the exact same suburban house, but this time, flowers have blossomed. Their inner circles are sun-kissed and wreathed in bashful pink. Same house, same yard, but words like sun-kissed, blossomed, and bashful paint a happy, peaceful, and super welcoming mood. Notice how the author didn't explicitly say, this house is scary or this house is happy. They dictated the mood entirely through their specific word choices. That right there is the power of deliberate vocabulary.
Section 4. Misconception, guessing versus inferring, why evidence matters. Let's shift gears and address a really common pitfall readers face when they try to read between the lines.
I want to pose this question directly to you. Really think about it. Is an inference just a wild guess? When you're reading a story and trying to figure out a character's secret or what just happened off page, are you basically just making things up based on your imagination?
So, the crucial point here is absolutely not. An inference is never a wild guess. An inference must be rooted in specific text clues, which we call evidence, combined with your background knowledge. If you're coming up with a conclusion, but you can't point to a specific word or phrase in the text that led you there, you're just guessing. True inferencing requires you to cite textual evidence. You search your memory, you connect your outside knowledge with the information in the text, and you form a logical conclusion that is totally supported by the words on the page.
Section 5. Formative check and recap. Applying your detective skills. All right, time to put your newly acquired detective tools to the test with a quick scenario.
Listen to this short little story carefully. Maria was lying down looking at a reading book. The room was full of steam. Suddenly, Maria got soap in her eye. She reached wildly for the towel. Then she heard a splash. Okay, detectives, I have 2 questions for you. First, where is Maria? And second, what just happened to her reading book? The text doesn't tell us directly. You have to infer it.
Let's move to the next slide and see how this builds using our logic framework. We can use a sentence frame to make this super clear. First, we observe our evidence, the words steam, soap, and splash. Next, we pull in our background knowledge. Well, we know that people use soap and generate steam when they're taking a bath in a bathtub. Finally, we put the whole shebang together. We infer that Maria is in the bathtub, and she just dropped her reading book right into the water. Why? Because the splash happened right after she let go of the book to reach wildly for a towel. So if we use our frame, it sounds exactly like this. We observe steam, soap, and a splash. We infer Maria dropped her book in the bathtub because people use soap in steamy bathrooms, and dropping a solid object in water makes a splash. Notice how we cited our evidence to prove our inference?
Let's do a crisp, concise recap of the core concepts you've mastered today. 1. Mood is the overall feeling or atmosphere of the text. 2. Writers deliberately use specific word choice to drive and construct that mood. 3. Inferencing is reading between the lines, and it absolutely requires combining actual text clues with your background knowledge. And 4. Always cite your textual evidence to prove you're inferring and not just guessing.
I want to leave you with a provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer. Now that you know exactly how authors manipulate words to make you feel a certain way, and exactly how they leave those little breadcrumbs of evidence for you to follow, how will you use deliberate word choice to set the mood in your next writing assignment? Think about the atmosphere you want to build, choose your words like a painter chooses colors, and invite your readers to investigate your world. Great job today, Grade 9, and keep up the fantastic work.